Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. This is our June meeting of the Tableau Newbie User Group. Maddie, next slide, please. We want to thank you for being here, and we want to thank you for being part of the community. We want to thank you for being part of the Newbie User Group. We know that some of you are new members to the user group, and some of you are brand new to Tableau. You're welcome. You're welcome to be here at any point in time. There's going to be a lot of people here today, so we're going to talk for a little bit before we get started, maybe a few minutes here. But what we'd like you to do in the chat would just note where you are from. We'd like to know what city you're located in, what country you're located in, and if by chance you entered IronViz and worked with the IronViz Data+TV data set as part of the preliminaries, let us know that, because we're going to dive into it today. Here's another person from Indianapolis. Colleen, you and Maddie from Indianapolis. Go Pacers. Maddie, let's go to the next slide. Okay, we have a little housekeeping here. Yes, we are recording. We're recording the entire session today. The recording will be available probably by the end of the week out on the Newbie Group website, and you can see all of our recordings there from the beginning of time. You will notice that your audio and video have been disabled, and that's because we expect a lot of people out there. We just don't have enough bandwidth to have a video interaction going on. But you have the chat available to you. What we'd ask you to do in the chat is you can communicate back and forth, talk among yourself, whatever. But if you have a question, and if you have a question for one of the presenters, please put it in the Q&A. And the Q&A is open now. You can add questions to the Q&A. It's easier for us to find it that way. And if we don't answer your question live, we'll answer the question in the Q&A itself. Mandy, let's go to the next one. Okay. I know some of you are brand new to the Newbie Group. You haven't. This might be your first meeting. The Newbie Group is now a little over 4 years old. Klaus and I started this 4 years ago, and we meet about every 6 to 8 weeks. That gives us about seven or eight meetings annually. This group was founded for you. It was founded for members who are relatively new to Tableau. I like to think as new users or intermediate users, but people who want to increase their skills, or they want to learn more about how Tableau works. Now, typically we have two parts to the meeting. The first part of the meeting, we have a how does that work, where we take a deep dive into some of the Tableau functions and tell you what's going on under the cover so that you know how Tableau actually solves some of the things that you're working with. And that's done by members of the team here. And Klaus or I or Maddie or Swathi or Viraj will go and take a deep dive in how a function works. And then usually we have a guest speaker, and the topics for the guest speaker come from you. So if you have an idea of a topic you would like us to present, just throw it in the chat, and we'll find somebody who can speak on that topic. But today we've got a special agenda, and let's go to the next slide. Today's agenda, we're going to take a look at, and we, the members of the user group leadership team, we're going to take a look at the data set that was used as part of the IronViz screener, and that's the Tableau+TV data set. It and some other data sets were used as the preliminaries for this past year's IronViz. There were over 200 participants who submitted entries, and once again, if you submitted an entry to IronViz, put it in the chat. We'd like to know who was out there. I see Dennis Cow's out there. Dennis, I think you had something. That you submitted for IronViz this year. But please let us know if you were an IronViz participant this year. I was one of the judges. Klaus, were you one of the judges this year?
No, not this year. And I'm sure if Dennis did do something, then it was for sure awesome.
And that's just exactly where I was going to go with this. I know what Dennis did was awesome. Dennis, I did not judge your entry. but the ones that I judged were fabulous. They were great. I don't think I'm up to that standard, or what you're going to see today probably isn't up to the standard of what Dennis submitted. But thank you for participating, Maddie. Let's go to the next slide. You probably want to know who we are. Yeah, you probably want to know who we are. Swati, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Swati, and I work as a BI specialist at JLL, and I'm based in London, UK.
Okay. Maddie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie Wild. I'm based in Indianapolis, Indiana, so I also go SIRS. I'm really preoccupied right now. I work at a grant-making foundation here in Indianapolis, and then I've been part of the Newbie tug for about 2 years and using Tableau for 3 or more. It's hard to remember at this point.
Okay, and Maddie is playing injured today, and we thank her for doing that. Okay, Klaus?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Klaus. I'm based in Münster in Germany, where I work at Münster University of Applied Sciences. And I'm also one of the Tableau visionaries for quite a time already. And I started using Tableau in 2017. Yeah, and really like to be part of this Newbie Tech leadership team. I'm also part of Info Topics, Apps for Tableau in the Netherlands, where I help with creating extensions. You might have seen us at conference, the big pink dino. That's also part of what I do.
The big pink dino whose name was Vizzy. Klaus is one of the Hall of Fame visionaries, so don't let him be modest. I'm looking at the chat here, and I see on the board now we have somebody from India, somebody from Nigeria, and somebody from Geneva. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. My name's Jim Daner. I am one of the Tableau visionaries also. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I may know some of you from work that I've done out on the forum where I've answered quite a few questions out there. So, Maddie, I think we're ready to go on to the next slide. Klaus?
Yeah, like Jim already told you, normally we have a very structured setup for this Newbie Tech meeting with that how does it work section part and with a featured guest speaker. But for this year, we actually tried to do something new. And we are doing the second solution build today. And the idea was, that especially for newbies and new users, it can be quite intimidating to see all the great work at Tableau Public. And therefore, we actually wanted to show, how to create a viz from scratch. If you were with us in the first solution build, we also did some work in Tableau Prep, for example. So everything that you need to do as a data analyst, we want to show here in these solution builds. And this way, maybe on the one hand, show you how to work with Tableau and how to use the features in Tableau, but also show that this is that this is just work that you have to do, and that not everything goes right all the time, and that everything starts with a blank canvas, and that Tableau is such a great tool to build out the things like you will see today. So this is the plan for this year. We're covering some of the fundamental topics in Tableau in the how does it work parts, and we have guest speakers like we had already with Hareen Young and Jennifer Dawes last time, and next time we will have Robert Redburn. So we will cover basic concepts of Tableau, but then also apply these concepts in the solution builds like we will today. Okay, good. This is also mine. Save the date, June 17th. I think is not correct. It should be, I think, August. Is it August 8th? Yes. I think August 8th. Not 100% sure. We will let you know. And it's our pleasure to have Robert Redburn with us. Also, long-time Tableau visionary. And he has been using Tableau since 2009, so for quite a while already. and his presentation will reflect on that journey a little bit. He will talk about his journey with Tableau, and I think there will be a lot to take away also for newbies from his presentation. So really happy and proud to have Robert with us next time. You can already sign up, of course, today. Yeah. So if you grab the QR code, you will also find the correct date for this meeting.
It's August the 5th.
The 5th. Oh.
It's August the 5th. And that's my error, guys, and that's why we don't let me run the slides. That's why we have to have professionals run the slide. Maddie's running the slides today. Sorry to make the mistake, Maddie. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. This is the data set we're going to use, and you might be familiar with this data set. It's the Data+TV data set. I'm going to go into it and explain a little bit more about it in just a second, but just in broad terms, it's a data set. The source of that is IMDb, and I am told, because I don't follow them too much, but I am told that they are the Bible for accumulating all sorts of data on TV, and then they do movies also separately. The data set itself spans 100 years. Now, that's not every year 100 years worth of data, but it spans 100 years. It's the data that we're looking at starts in 1924 and goes to 2023. And it includes all the series, all the TV series, all the producers, the information about individual episodes, rankings, ratings, awards, votes, just a wealth of information about those individual episodes. And we're going to dive in to that data set and see how each one of us looked at it separately. Maddie, you want to go to the next slide? Now, the sequence we're going to do is, I'm going to go first. I'm going to talk about animation, and Swati's going to talk about the Big Bang Theory, if that was one of your favorites. And then Klaus is going to talk about one of my personal favorites, Star Trek Next Generation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, he said. And we're going to start with this data set right here. Now, this is that same data set. And I told you it's a very large data set. If we were to look at this, you can see this data set has the number of series, and the series are like, as you can see here, Days of Our Life and The Simpsons and Neighbors and Jeopardy. Each one of those is a separate series. There's 200,000 series in this data set. The number of titles, and the number of titles, you can think of those as individual episodes, are over 7.5 million individual episodes are recorded as individual records in the data set. We talk about the number of people. Those are people who are involved. They could be producers, they could be actors, or they could be involved as directors or somewhere in the production of the product itself. There's 1.5 million people, a little over 1.5 million people, and the number of roles, like different characters in there, is over 33 million people. So it's a huge, huge data set. Well, when I first got this data set, I started looking at it, and I had this idea that I was going to try to do a network diagram where I was going to pick several specific producers by name, individuals by name, and see what series they worked on. And quite honestly, I couldn't wade through the data to get to anything that made a whole lot of sense. But I hit upon something else. I kind of enjoy animation, and that's Saturday morning cartoons for those of you who are not familiar with my version of animation anyway. I kind of like animation. So I thought I'd just take a look at animation, and I wanted to look at all the titles involved in animation, or the number of episodes involved and where they went. And at first I looked at that, and that's still 24,000 records. And quite honestly, the data set was clunky. It didn't respond real well. And I said, well, I got to do better than that. I've got to narrow that down quite a bit to have something that's workable. And I started looking at the number, and we're just going to look at a calculation that I made here. If you just stay with me here. This is the I had to group some production companies together, and this is a calculation that I really wanted to show you. And all I did was I took a look at the series name and the release year. And the release year becomes the important date, if you will, in the rest of the calculations. And that's the year that the individual episode was released. So we could take a look by the series title, for example. We could take a look at The Simpsons, and each year that it was released, I could count the number of episodes or the number of individual titles. And that's what I was going to use as my metric. Now, I could come in here and I could sum those by the production company. And you can see Hanna-Barbera is here, and 20th Century Fox and Cartoon Network are here. And I could count the titles that they produced over time. And you could see that this works pretty well because it drops off relatively quickly. And if we were to look at this, there's 400 marks here, 400 different production companies, and we're not going to look at all of them. But it drops off relatively quickly, so we can look at a subset of this or look at a small group and be representative of the market in total. Now, there's a couple in here that you might look and you say, well, who are those guys? Like, who is Bell the Cat? I've never heard of Bell the Cat. Well, you have heard of Bell the Cat. You just don't know that that is Sesame Street. Sesame Street, all the productions of Sesame Street were done by a production company called Bell the Cat. Well, that's not the type of animation that I wanted to look at, so I just excluded that. I just excluded it here. And then some of the data, and this is true of every data set I've ever looked at that I've gotten a hold of, there were some records in there that just didn't have the information that I wanted, so we could exclude that. And we can start looking at this data a little different now. And if we were to look and make two additional changes, I wasn't so much interested in the early data. I wanted to start at data after the release year of 1960. So we looked at data from 1960 through the end of the data that's available, 2023. Looked at US data. Sorry about that, Europe, but there was just too much data to look at otherwise. Looked at animation only, and I looked at the top 10. And I said, well, let's take a look at the top 10. And we can see in the top 10, we go from production companies that produced over 2,000 episodes down to 345. And I said, okay, that's good enough. At this point, I took this data, I downloaded it. I downloaded this data and put it in a different workbook so that I had a smaller subset of the data and I had something that I could actually work with that was that would perform relatively well. And that takes us over to what I wanted to talk about today, and that's what happened in the animation market between 1960 and 2020. We've already identified that if we looked at detail at the title level or the series level, there's just too much data to count, but we decided to take a look at these top 10. And the top 10 that were important, we can see 20th Century Fox and Hanna-Barbera here, and Cartoon Network seem to be the three largest, and then you can see it varies from there. Well, I wanted to look at production year, and I started looking at individual production years and decided along the way that what I really needed to do was to group them into decades. And we just used a simple formula here. I just took the release year and divided it by 10. All this does is create a decade that I can dump data into. So all the releases in the 1960s appeared under the string title of 1960s decades, and so on. So I had them by decade, and we can start taking a look at trends. We can see what happened with each group when, and even right here, we can see that something is going on right here between the two leaders. And if we look at that as a line diagram, boy, it's pretty busy. It looks like, wow, something's going on, but what actually is going on? And if I just take a look at these two, I take a look at Hanna-Barbera and I take a look at 20th Century Fox, it's pretty clear that Hanna-Barbera really dominated the early period up through 1990, and then 20th Century Fox took over. And something was going on, and that's what intrigued me. That was like, well, why'd that happen? It doesn't just happen. Why'd it happen? So let's take a look at who Hanna-Barbera is. Hanna-Barbera, it's Yogi Bear. It's the Flintstones. It's the Smurfs. It's Scooby-Doo. These were all, children-based Saturday morning type cartoons. I enjoyed them. My children enjoyed them. And we watched them through that period. We take a look at the period through the 1990s. At Hanna-Barbera alone, we can see that they were very dominant early in the period. They went through some financial difficulty. They became dominant again. And then it just sort of went downhill from there. And the obvious question becomes, well, what was really going on? And I want to look at this period in the 1980s. And we can see that during that period in the 80s, where all of a sudden they went from a high all the way down to low, and eventually they went out of business. That was a period where they went into the 80s riding the Flintstones, and the Flintstones were big and the like. Early in the period, they introduced the Smurfs, and the Smurfs just took off. But as we got toward the end of the 1980s, we got to the point that the Smurfs had run to the end of their livelihood. And the last episode of the Smurfs was released in December of 1989. And it so happens at that point, Hanna-Barbera was in financial difficulty. They sold off some of their assets. A few years later, Joseph Barbera died, and we had the end of Hanna-Barbera. But something else happened that very same month. And what happened that very same month is the first episode of The Simpsons was released over at 20th Century Fox. Now, not only was it released, but there was a fundamental change in the market. The Simpsons, as you know, and certainly as my children knew, and their children now, The Simpsons ushered in an era of adult comedy animation that was done in prime time. And the 20th Century Fox not only had The Simpsons, but they introduced Family Guy and King of the Hill, and all of these were major, major hits. We take a look at the line chart for 1989 all the way through the end of the data that we've got through 2023. We can see that with just a little bit of an exception here, 20th Century Fox was just on a growth pattern, and they just kept growing and growing and growing. But maybe if we look a little deeper into what was going on, we get a better idea of what happened during that period. It actually took them about 7 years, up through 1996, to grow The Simpsons to the point that they started adding other titles. And it wasn't until 1997 that King of the Hill was introduced. And then we see at the end of 1999, or the turn of the century, we start seeing Family Guy and Futurama and some of the other titles that they introduced to take over that position in the market. Well, it kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen in the future. And this is really up to you and to your children and maybe to your grandchildren and the like. What are you watching now? The last data we've got in this data set, I wanted to take a look at who are the top production companies in 2023. And of course, 20th Century Fox is the leading production company, but it's followed by Disney and Icon. And if we take a look at some of the titles, and these are titles that you might know more about than I would know about, we can see that sure enough, 20th Century Fox is there with The Simpsons and Family Guy. Those are titles that I'd recognize. The Disney Channel has a number of titles out there that are doing well. Icon is Star Wars, and the Star Wars franchise is out there, and it's very, very healthy. And we start taking a look at some of the other titles, but one thing we can be certain of is that as time goes on, that market is going to change. And what we've looked at today, we've taken a look at what happened early in the time period where Hanna-Barbera was the leader, and later in the time period where 20th Century Fox was the leader, and that's guaranteed to change at some point in the future. Well, as they say, that's all, folks. I will stop sharing.
Maybe wait a second, Jim.
Okay.
At least there was one question. Dennis also answered it in the chat, but at one point you were hiding values and you were excluding values. Could you say why you chose the different options for that?
Okay. Let me. I can't go back on this slide. Can you see this slide here?
Yes.
Okay. What I wanted to do here let me see if I can do this without messing this up too bad. This value, I wanted to exclude this value. This is a genre, if you will. That in itself is Sesame Street, and I don't really consider that a competitor to Yogi Bear, for example. It's an entirely different type of show. So I just excluded it from the data set. I didn't want it in the data set anymore. And I was excluding data at this point because I wanted to reduce the amount of data that I was going to take over, that I was going to put into a file that I downloaded into a new Tableau workbook. And I also excluded nulls. The nulls weren't of any use to us. So I was able to get rid of some data along the way. And you can see here, this is now 404 marks. It used to be 406 marks. But when I include all the series, that number goes up dramatically. When we went over to this file over here, when we started looking at production, I was actually in the wrong file. I'm sorry. Here I did one other thing. I just wanted to look at the top 10. Okay, so I put in a filter for the top 10 so that I had further reduced the amount of data, but I didn't get rid of the data in the data set. Excluding the data, I got rid of the data in the data set. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now.
Yeah.
So that, okay. Did Dennis? You said Dennis answered the question. Was that?
Yes.
Like Beavis and Butthead and South Park fall into the mix. Okay.
There were also some questions on the data set.
I will go that. I'll go that. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Were there any additional questions remaining?
There was one question on the data set, and I think we can put the link to the data set. So I have only the link to the Data+TV site, and there you need a login for Tableau, but there should also be a Tableau public link, which I couldn't find.
We're going to show it at the, Klaus, we're going to show it at the end, and there's a QR code that can take it right off the screen.
Ah, perfect. Good.
So I know everybody was struggling to where to find the data set because I had the same struggle. So if you go to the link where Klaus has mentioned the Data+TV, you can get started with that. You can click on Get Started, and it will actually appear some form. You have to log into that, giving your details, and you just have to click on Submit here on the black thing, and it will allow you to download the Get Started Kit here.
Yeah, thank you.
So these are the slides, preliminary slides, and here in the information you will be having the started dashboard. Now you can click the link on, and you can download that workbook, or you can just take this. Probably that would be much easier. You can just download this and you can experiment with your data.
Swati, will you show them just really quick again where that link is to download?
So if you go to,
No, the slide you were just on Tableau Public.
oh yeah, on
Yeah.
Tableau Public.
Yeah.
Could
Right
we
in
just
the
share that link
Yeah,
to the
go
chat?
to that.
Swati, okay, fine. Keep going.
Hope that's clear now. Let me get to the dashboard. So the one that I've downloaded is here. So when you download the dataset, today I'll be covering about the Big Bang Theory. The reason why I've chosen Big Bang Theory is one of my favorites. I am not a TV buff at all. I hardly did watch only few of them, and Big Bang Theory is one of my favorites because out of all the stress that I have from morning to evening, I just have that few minutes to enjoy that comic sense. So I just went into watching Big Bang Theory, and I quite liked it. That's the reason why I've chosen today the Big Bang Theory. And if you have to filter, if you download that dashboard which I've shown, you can just click on edit or right click, edit data source filters. And here you just have to give the series title. The information starter kit has got everything. It'll tell you what every detail in the dataset means. So series title is nothing but what series it is. So you can just click on add and go to series title and give the, let me just edit this. So here I've given Big Bang Theory, and that's why you can see the filter, the dataset filter to Big Bang Theory. So likewise, if you have any particular choice of interest or anything that you love and you want to explore with the data, and I think that's a really good way of getting into stuff. Excuse my voice today, I'm not really well, but then this is what I've come up to using the Big Bang Theory. So I've told you why I've chosen Big Bang Theory, but now I just wanted the Tableau dashboard to resonate with the title. So that's why I've come up with the cosmic effect. And I will honestly tell you that Tableau Public has given me hundreds or more than that of inspirations that I can look up to. I went into Tableau Public. I literally searched about the Big Bang Theory. Of course, there were no designs that were actually talking about the cosmic sense, but then I wanted to come up with my own and have taken some inspiration from other stargazing or other Tableau Public quizzes that were of choice. So I did take that inspiration, not just taking that, I've downloaded the workbook and I've literally broken down everything to understand how do I create this radial graph. So radial graph was in my vision. I actually wanted something to give that cosmic effect so that it ties really good with the Big Bang Theory. And I wanted to put all the important stuff out there on the dashboard. So the first element is giving the few important details of that particular series. How many seasons were there? How many episodes were there? And what is the overall IMDb rating? And how many characters are in that overall seasons? And how many celebrities or the guest entries did this series have? Then I just gave a little touch of what these Big Bang Theory was. Today I'll be just focusing on the design aspects, and you can see that the list. I've chosen the color palette to be white and black, again resonating the cosmic effect. And this is the radial graph that I was talking about. So this was in my vision. I was actually drawing out like how do I actually represent each season and each episode in that. So overall, we have seen that there were 12 seasons and 279 episodes. Now, how do I spread that out so that it looks like visually in that touch of space? So each circle represents a season, and each star represents an episode. So here, if you see the size of the star being up and down, it is basically because of the average rating of that episode. While if you just take, like Jim mentioned, the data set was really huge, but if you just filter out to one particular series, you have got very limited information. So I actually wanted to enhance this. Like when I looked at, so if you see the star, this is the final episode, and there are some random stars that were actually glowing, like they were really big. I just wanted to understand why was the case. Were there any celebrities that came into that episode? Was there any connection during this random increase in the average rating? I couldn't find that. Probably that could be another thing. Like I could have leveraged this using another data set that is publicly made available, but I couldn't do that at this point in time. And that was about the radial graph. And then I just came down to see the overall vote count distribution across those 12 seasons, and what is the impact of the ratings. If the votes were high, was the rating high? And it really looked like that. Like if you see the final episode, you can see that the number of votes were 10,000 odd. Number of votes means the number of viewers, right? So it is exactly matching with few of those details. We have the highest rating at that point in time for the final episode. And if you see this one, for season 7 or season 9, episode 11, there were high number of votes. And if you see the star here, you can see that season 9, 11 episode has got high rating of 9.0. So yeah, these were the simple elements that I wanted to bring in and just make it look. It's not. I mean, if there was time and if there was more details of the data set, or if I could have brought more data set, then I could have leveraged on what is the reason behind these random stars increase, and one, can I actually make it more interactive? So these were some of the elements that are definitely missing from this, but I really wanted to have that report kind of structure for this particular Big Bang Theory. I think that was it. I also want to emphasize, like when you are struggling with a data set or when you don't know, I think Tableau Public has got a very beautiful quizzes, or you can just take them and break them down to understand what they've done and replicate the same thing in your data set as well. And also here, if you see, my design is way minimalistic. I did not have more colors. I did not have more nonsense. I mean, not nonsense, but then there's not so much clutter on the data on the dashboard. I just wanted to keep it minimal so that it is eye-catching, and it is actually making the user attract to your dashboard. So that was the main thing, and also give the details of how to with, so that it is easy for the user as well, in the user perspective, and also give some breathing space to your visualization as well.
Swati, maybe one question before you stop sharing.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't have to go into the details, but maybe some of the new users might ask, how do you create such a radial chart? Because when you look at Show Me, there is no such thing like a radial chart.
That's right.
Maybe can you just maybe show the sheet and just briefly explain how this works?
So there are a few calculations that are involved to create this radial chart. You will have to understand these 6 calculations basically. How do you make the angle? What is the angle and what is the radiance? What is the angle? I mean, this is the angle. Like this is the center point of that circle, but you have to make the angle. So all these calculations depends on what you wanted to do. So basically, for each season, I wanted to cut down that 360 degrees for each episode out there, right? So all my episodes fall into that particular angle. So I just get that distribution of each season. So each season, my 360-degree angle and each episode. Imagine like you're cutting a slice of a cake that is 360 degree, and you just have to slice it down to each episode. So 360 degree divided by my unique thing would give me that angle.
Wow.
So going with that, if you really wanted to look at this, I already have it made downloadable. It's on my public profile. You can just have a look at that.
Yeah, and this is also what Tableau can do, right? So if you think of Tableau just as a blank canvas, and then with an X and a Y coordinate, you can basically draw everything within Tableau, like this beautiful viz that you created. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Swati.
Thank you.
And I will take over the last part. Yeah, pretty much like Swati. I was when preparing this session, I was also thinking about what do I want to look into? Since I went to a theme park just a couple of weeks ago, where I also saw the patron saint of all data analysts, Lieutenant Commander Data, I thought let's look into Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like Jim introduced, this was a huge data set. Just to make my life easier, I did the exact same thing like Swati. I went to the data source and I put on a data source filter. Yeah, and my data source filter only kept the series title Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yeah, so everything out, this data source filter is like the gatekeeper at the beginning of the workbook. And there is more in the extract, but I only look at Star Trek: Next Generation. Yeah, that's why I only have one series with 176 titles, 315 people, and 1,870 rows. And what I wanted to create is something like a episode guide. So we have 7 seasons of Star Trek: Next Generation, 176 titles. And I fear I don't have the time to watch them all again, but maybe I want to look into some selected ones, because I watched the series when I was still going to school, so a couple of years ago. And I remember some really good episodes and some episodes I didn't like, of course, also. But yeah, like being efficient also here on this part, I wanted to create an episode guide to bring the best episodes of Star Trek: Next Generation to the surface, and maybe watch them together with my kids on the next occasion. Okay, then like Jim did, I first investigated all these folders here. So the Tableau Public team did a great job and structured the entire content. And that's really a pro tip that you can also do on your projects. So first of all, structure your fields into folders. And then you see, for example, when you hover a field, there is also a comment for each field. Yeah, so I learned a little bit about the different fields available here. And if you're wondering how to do that, this is one of the default properties. And for each of the fields, you can add a comment. Like in this case, if the person is known to be deceased, you can just add that. And when you hover a field, you can see that comment. Okay, my goal was to create a episode guide, and therefore I was thinking of a very specific chart type, a dot plot, to show the different episodes by season, and have them ranked by the average rating, because I wanted to crowdsource the selection for me. So I think IMDb, biggest database on TV and movies, and I trust people rating the series, so I would follow their recommendation basically to find the best Star Trek Next Generation series. Okay, what I wanted to do. So I wanted to look at season number, not as a measure, but as a dimension. Yeah, so these are my seasons 1 to 7. And I wanted to look at the title rating on columns. And I wanted to do that for each title. So let's put title to detail. And let's put it to entire view. And this will create a stacked bar chart, which doesn't make really sense in this case. I was thinking of a dot plot, and I'm changing this one to circle. And I get all the ratings for all my titles within each season. Already interesting insight here. There is one title really at the bottom of this list. So Shades of Grey, season number 2 is like an outlier. Maybe I will watch also this title or this episode and try to understand why it's ranked so badly. Yeah, then for this, I would always exclude 0 because I want to use the full real estate for this. I have the feeling that some of my dots are covered. I look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And when I count these dots, there are 25 items actually selected. And to make all these titles visible, there's a nice little trick that's to create a so-called jitter plot. And with a jitter plot, you can use the random function like this. And when you then return, this will put a second axis into the view where each dot is assigned a random number between 0 and 1. And this way you can show all the elements and you don't have titles being on top of each other because they have the same rating. Like in this case, these 3 titles all have the same rating of 6.8. And now they are jittered, so they are not laying on top of each other anymore. So this is something that I like to do. And then I would always set this to a fixed start to give it some space. I would start at minus 0.3 till 1.3. And this will give me some space at the bottom and some space at the top. Then I will just unshow this header, and I get a nice, nice dot plot with this jitter effect to see all the titles. And still here we have the outlier from season 2, but we can also already see here the best ranked title with 9.5, the Inner Light from season 5. I like this one, and maybe I also show the total, the column grand total, because this way I can also show all the titles in one row of my visual. I think this is nice. I will also put season number here on color, because this way I get a nice color legend to highlight my different seasons, like this. Yeah, so this is the first part. This is my chart, and this will basically also be my episode guide. Yeah, since I can just go season by season and yeah, just go to these best ranked episodes. Yeah, then maybe let's add some more analytics. In this kind of charts, I always like to have a reference line, and this reference line in this case should maybe show the median for each of my seasons. So in this case, we can differentiate maybe better seasons and worse seasons. In this case, it's season 4 that has been rated or that has the highest median. We can also show the value here with 7.7, and for all 7.4 is the median. Yeah, I think this is already nice. Yeah, we can format maybe this one a little bit. I brought some space into my rows, so we can put the median at the top maybe, and make the this a dashed line. I want to see full color and maybe a light gray or something like this. Yeah, then I would probably also yeah, put some love to the different elements here in my chart to make this also look nice. Like in this case, maybe increase the size of the headers a little bit to 12, and maybe go right aligned for the season number. I have to catch my to not run out of battery. So this, yeah, then maybe this is not a grand total, but I would call this all seasons. I think this is something to add. Maybe we don't need tick marks every half point, but only like this. I think this is also a little bit cleaner. And I also think I don't need all the grid lines here. So when showing the header, I only want the grid line in the middle. So let's put the tick mark. Let's start it at 0.5 and put a tick interval of 3. So this way I only keep one grid line in the middle. Yeah, I think this is already a nice chart. I think I can get rid of the divider lines. This is what Tableau likes to do. Just bring in lines where I don't want them. So I got rid of the divider line, the column dividers, because I don't want them here. Then I thought, pretty much like Swati, a black background would be nice for this topic. So let's change the background to black, like this. And then you obviously also have to change the color of the grid lines and of the divider lines and stuff like that. So let's also do this. We go back to the row divider and give them a lighter black than the background, and same for the grid lines. Let's go also with this one. Maybe that's even too much. We can do that very subtle like this. I think that's fine. We also have the same issue for the tick marks. We can do that here as well. And the font type. I think we can change the font color on a worksheet level. How was that again? No, I think I have to do it like this. Here. I think I can just put light up the font a little bit. I think, yeah, maybe like this. Then for my reference line. I do the same. Let's take this one, maybe a little bit lighter. And the shading, let's also put that to black. Yeah, and we converted basically the white background visual into a dark background visual. Yeah, then next thing that I thought that would be nice is to have a little halo effect. So since we're talking about Star Trek and space, so I wanted to create something visual for this theme. And therefore, I will just create a dual axis. And on the second axis, I will increase the size of the dots a little bit, like this. Then create a dual axis. Yeah, always synchronize the axis, like this. And now for the second one, I will just reduce the opacity from 100 to 10%. 10 is maybe not enough. Let's go 20. Also not enough. Let's go 30. And what you can see now is that there is this little halo effect. Maybe I need to increase the size of this a little bit more. I think this is nice. Decrease the size of these a little bit. Yeah, so this way we get nice spacey dots according to the theme that we have here. I can unshow that header. Yeah, and I think this is already quite nice. Yeah, then I've prepared a dashboard where I also repeated that dark background with a little image I found on the internet and the title. And what I'm going to do here, so here I've put in a container, a vertical container I can put my sheet into. And let's just do that. Get rid of the blank that's in it. And I think this is already quite nice. Yeah, then this should have a nice title. Let's increase that a little bit. So this is my, what do I show? I show average. Oh no, first let's also give this some more color. This is the average rating by title and season, or actually by episode and season. Yeah, like this. I do, or just thinking maybe there's a better way to do this. I like to use my color legend actually as a title. So let's put this to floating. Then I can also get rid of this container. And there is a way so you can control the setup and look of your color legends. Let's do it like this. We arrange the items in one single row. Yeah. Let's increase this, and let's put the legend on top of this. And one thing that I actually didn't know until yesterday is that you can decrease the distance between the items in your legend, yeah, by just hovering until you get this double arrow like this. And then let me put this title. Let's hide this title and put it here. Yeah? And this way we get a nice title, and we are able to highlight the different seasons. Yeah, you see this tooltip here, which I don't like. So I think we haven't put any emphasis on the tooltip yet, or didn't give any love to the tooltip. So let's do that. Just a minimalistic tooltip. yeah, maybe let's give it the title. I always do it like this, just copy and paste within the tooltip window. And then we have the season number. We don't need random. Yeah, maybe like this. And I think I will also want to have the episode number. So let's put this here as well as an attribute. And we can add this here. So it's season and episode number. And we can do something like this. Yeah, put brackets around it. Let's preview this. And I think this is good. Yeah, so we have our title with the indication which season and which episode it is, and the average or the rating from IMDb. Yeah, I think this is good. And you probably saw me unchecking these ones here. So I don't want the control buttons, the command buttons to exclude or keep only certain elements because I don't want to filter here. I got rid of that. And this way, they also went away here. So now I can easily highlight my, my different seasons. Yeah, then maybe, so since we have maybe a couple of minutes more, what I like to do is to change the colors slightly. And my go-to thing to do this is, yeah, just to double click the elements here. And I will use the color picker to repeat the colors that I have in my little image here. So let's take that purple. Then we have, of course, the red from the captains and lieutenant commanders. We have that yellowish color here, lieutenant commander data. We can use this dark blue here. Maybe that one is too dark. We will check that out later. Here is another, maybe a slightly darker blue. Oh no, this one is also too dark. You see, I'm running out of colors. So there is one that we can take, and the last one. I don't know. Do we have something more? We can take that one, that brownish. Yeah, so maybe not ideal yet, but yeah, also not too bad. I think this one I will change later to make that better visible. Then, if I go back here, I know that there is a little title image URL. Yeah, so IMDb added a column to this data set where you have a URL for each title. And I will put this on detail as well to make it available for my actions on my dashboard. And by the way, what you notice when I add something to detail, the random function gets executed, and each dot gets a new random position between 0 and 1. So in case you're wondering why this changes when I drop something on, that's the reason. Okay, yeah, and then I will use a web page object here at the bottom. Just put in the object for now and don't add a URL. And in my layout hierarchy, I have this web object here. So this will, I will just rename that. This will be my title URL. And I'm adding a dashboard action on this sheet, a URL action. Actually, there is already one. I think I can edit this one. And this will take the URL. Oh, what is this? That's the wrong one. I'm on this one here. So it will take the URL from the build sheet when I select something. and it will display the URL in my title URL web object here on the right side. And it should use the, where is it? IMDb title image URL. Oh, it was already there. So let's delete this image title URL like that. Okay. Okay. And you see there's another sheet that I prepared ahead of time. So again, some details on the on each episode. And I also need to put a action on that one. That should be a filter action. So build on title details when I select something, and it should keep the filtered value when I release the selection like this. And if I did everything right, we should now be able to pick a episode here. Let's see, maybe this one. And well, it works. So we can now, we get the title from the URL. We get the plot summary of that episode. And I think I remember this one even. So I always like the episodes where the Borg were the opponents. So this one worked well. There are also some URLs not working. This one is working again. I think these are all good. So this way you get some more context on each episode. And this was basically my build to help me to navigate through all the different titles for the next for my next TV night with my daughter. Maybe last one. Just seeing this dark one is not too good. Let's give it here a light color from the background. Yeah, way better. Okay, good. If you have any questions, and let's see if I met my my safety version. Yeah, I think it's quite similar. Slightly different title, but I'm almost there. Okay, good. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Klaus, there's a question out here. You may not want to try to actually show them how to do it, but the question is there a way to stop the highlighting of the season number when you select an episode?
Yeah, there is a way. I think do we have the time to quickly show it?
We're at 8 after. We've got about 20 minutes. So if you can drop it in a few minutes, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what the question is, if you can prevent Tableau of doing this, right? So when you click something, it highlights, and this way everything else is grayed out. There's actually one technique, or there are several techniques. The one that I know of, let's do that here in this build. I have created two calculated fields. One is called true, which just holds the function true. And one is called false, which just holds the function false. And I will drop these two here on my view. And then let's go back here. And to make this work, to make Tableau automatically deselect the mark, you have to add an action. And this is a filter action where I filter the build view on select. And the target sheet is also the build view. And I want to show all values. And then you have to select the field. I filter on true, and the target field is false. Yeah, and this will always highlight all elements in the view. And when I now click one card, This one. Yeah, I picked one that wasn't broken, but you see it automatically deselects the mark. Now you can get rid of this highlighting. I think you can do that, but maybe there are cracks in the crowd that can share also a trick to get rid of this highlighting here at the left side. Okay.
Okay. Maddie, you want to take us back to the presentation?
Yeah.
Maddie gets to work now. Great presentation, Klaus. For those of you who don't know, Klaus is a former Iron Fist champion.
You couldn't know that from this slow build.
That was good. Okay, so Swathi did show us how to get to this data set, but you can also here's the link for it again, if you want to build your own, and we would love for you to share those with us. We have hashtag Newbies tug is something that we use. Some people are still on X, but also we're all on LinkedIn too, so we can see those things when you tag it. So if you build something on Tableau Public, and then you can share it to LinkedIn and we'll see it, but we would love to see the things that you build with this data set after this presentation.
Yeah, I hope we inspired a few people to go out to that data set and have some fun with it.
Yeah, there's a ton of data, so that's also a really good little practice about why we use filters and things like that, because it's a huge data set, and if you're not doing those things, it will slow you down.
We get, just by the way, we get questions all the time. Where do I find a data set? Where do I find a data set? Well, here's one that's got all kinds of things in here that can be used for a lot of different purposes. So go on out and have some fun with it.
Okay, now we are going to start a quiz. So I think I'm waiting for participants. Perfect.
I should mention that we have absolutely no prizes. There are no cash awards here. No, not even a t-shirt or hat. Sorry about that, but you do get bragging rights. So do play along with us. We'd love to have you.
There were a ton of really great tips in this one. So I did not get all the great tips turned into questions, but I tried to get the most pressing and best tips I heard. But there were a lot of things that were really great, just really tiny things that you can take away, which is really fun to see our team build things, because I feel like we've really honed in on the little tips that newbies need. So hopefully this one will be helpful. Okay, I am going to start it, but if you join us, this little number stays at the top and the link stays, so you can join late. If I start it, you're not kicked out forever. So I'll start it when we get to 35. I'll just start at 33. Okay, perfect. So our first question is, how did Jim initially cut down the data set to get a smaller number of high output producers from TV producers, animation houses, from the years 1960 to 2020? So there's actually two correct things you can select, because he did two things to bring that down. Okay, great. And the answer was that he used an LOD expression, level of detail, and then he also used a filter. So he used both of those things. He used the LOD expression first, just to pull down the number of producers based on the output, and then he used a filter to get down to the years. So he did both things. All right, the next question is, true or false? Jim repeatedly used decade in his data set. How did he create those? Did he use bins or something else? Great job, newbie. Oh, and meatloaf. I also really like that. Someone is meatloaf. So excellent work. He did not use bins. You can use bins, but he didn't use them. So this one was supposed to be false. He used the date function, and then I don't exactly remember the calculation, but he just showed it to us, and you can watch the recording. But it was not a bin, so you can use bins, or you can do the way Jim did. There's two different ways. Okay. And then next, why did Jim exclude data from his data set during the build? I'm now realizing this question is pretty vague. So if you can decipher this question, you also get a bonus point. It's bad if I need to see the correct answer. Okay. Show the correct answer. Okay. It wasn't relevant to his desired comparison. Oh yes, this is why he pulled out was it called Jellycat, Jim? I learned a lot today about not Tableau things.
I took out, there was just too much data to deal with.
Yes.
And the one set of data that I took out was all Sesame Street data, and I didn't want Sesame Street in the file. So it really wasn't relevant to what we were looking at.
He didn't want to compare that one. But he actually excluded it. He didn't just hide it, he excluded it because he was just like, I don't want this to be part of it. It's not going to be relevant even in calculation. It's still valid data. It just wasn't relevant for his particular comparison. Okay. What key ways did the Tableau public team organize their data within the workbook? So Klaus showed us some cool things that the public team did before they published this. That is really useful on the back end, especially if you have a data set that has this many measures and values in it. Okay. Way to go, Meatloaf and Newbie. I want to show my question really quickly. So the key things that they did were folders. They put the data in folders, and then they also added measure comments. Measure comments are helpful sometimes if you're building a data set like this and there are multiple users or developers on it. So you can add in comments about this is what this is. Sometimes you'll get a file and the file name cannot be changed because it's coming from some kind of database or source or something, but you can put a measure comment in so all the analysts and the developers know what it is and have a little bit more context. I find that to be personally relevant, and it's really helpful when multiple people are touching a file. You can also do that in your prep flows too, and you should do that in your prep flows, just so you know what you did. Okay, now it's just a little bit of pub trivia for you. I'm going to file this one away next time someone asks me to go trivia with them. When did the last episode of the Smurfs air? Thank you, Jim, for teaching us relevant and non-relevant life facts. Okay. Oh, we have a new leader, ST. Congrats on joining the leaderboard. It was December 1989. That was the last Smurfs and the first Simpsons. I feel smarter. Okay. Both Swathi and Klaus used a specific filter to quickly reduce all of the data to the desired series. Which did they use? Way to go, leaders. It was a data source filter, not a dashboard filter. So that helps with your load time when there's a lot of data like this to use the data source filter, because that's that order of operations, which we've talked a ton about. And if you want to know more about order of operations, you should go watch some of our old videos. But they used a data source filter.
Or they could sign up for our next session, because we're going to talk about the order of operation.
We love to talk about that. If you stick around, you will hear us talk about order of operations because we love to talk about it. It's really important. Okay, Klaus created a Jira plot, which I didn't really know that's what that was called, but I really like that term. And to separate points with the same value, and what did he do to do that? I've never seen this before, Klaus, today. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think Jim mentioned it somewhere. It's an undocumented function, and there are more undocumented functions, but I think this is the one that I use the most.
It's a good one. It's the random function. So you can also change the opacity, and that will help you see a little bit when points are on the same value. But the random one is really good. It really is clear. I liked that one. Okay, Klaus had images on his dashboard, and how did he get them? Did he use an API or something else? Wow, okay, almost everyone got that right. Good work, Klaus. Your students are retaining your teachings. No, he did not use an API. He used a dashboard action to do it. So, okay, I want to end lesson. Yeah, hold on. I want to see my leaders. Yes, there we go. Okay. Way to go, ST and Newbie. I don't know who Newbie is, but thank you for taking our name, being our mascot. And Meatloaf. Meatloaf is the winner, just like in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Meatloaf is the winner here.
All right. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you had some fun watching us presenting the different takes on this data set. And make sure to register already today for our next episode on August the 5th. We already introduced Robert. He will be with us and talking about his journey with Tableau over almost 2 decades. And we will talk about the order of operations, one of our favorite topics. Right, Jim?
Absolutely. It's my favorite topic. Maddie, thank you for correcting the slide, because I know I didn't correct it and Klaus was busy. And I think Swansea was busy also. So you must have done it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And thank you for the quiz. Once again, that lack of cash and no t-shirts will be winging its way out to our winner, Mr. Meatloaf.
Okay.
Thank you
Have
for joining
a great
us.
day. Bye-bye.